All right, sports fans, welcome back to another episode of Pez's Picks. I am not Pez, I am Jeff Hartman, and joining me as always is Pez. Pez, what's going on, man? How are you?
Coming at you from another secret location, Jeff, after the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs, very, very friendly to me. Been partying with those guys all week, and we're just coming down now. Coming down off
Yeah.
the high. Big win for them, big season for us. Another winner on the game. Props didn't work out very well, but a little controversy too on the one prop. My wife claims she saw clear liquid thrown on Andy Reid, and I believe purple was the winner.
Really?
My wife usually pretty dead on with these things. She's got good eyes, no contacts, no glasses, into her 40s here, and I thought I saw clear too, but apparently there was purple thrown on Andy Reid, which I think was the biggest long shot.
Wow. Okay.
I think it was
So
1,200 to 1, or
holy cow.
$100 to win 1,200, I believe.
That's awesome. So for those that bet purple, good for you. I mean, I say that, we talk about the prop bets and we will talk about the prop bets that
Yeah,
we made. And we didn't make those. You always said, you've been saying this. If people have been listening since the start of this podcast, you're not a prop bet guy. You are a
yeah.
let's go by the spread. And in that regard, I titled this podcast, We're Basking in the Glow of a Winning Super Bowl Bet, because we took the Kansas City Chiefs plus 2.5. They went outright 25-22 in overtime. But Pez, were you sweating a little bit at all during that game?
You know what, Jeff, and I think we talked about it last week, I'm pretty sure I said it. I'm pretty sure it was on camera. I can't remember if we were talking just personally, but this year's Kansas City Chiefs were the Utah Jazz of John Stockton and Karl Malone days, the mailman, or the 1990s New Jersey Devils in hockey,
Mm-hmm.
who destroyed everybody, and both of them were the most boring games to watch. They just controlled the game. You never thought you were going to win those games, especially in Utah with Stockton and Malone. You might be up 10. You're like, there's no way we're going to win this game. I really never thought the Chiefs were going to lose that game. I felt like everything they wanted to happen kind of happened. And we talked about going into it. I believe they were 4-4 in games going under 7 points. And the Niners were 1-4 games under 7. I felt like that they controlled the clock, they controlled the game, they took away the big score from San Francisco, and San Fran did a great job with their defense as well. They did a great job holding Kelsey down for most of the game. But I think the Chiefs looked at it as, we probably don't have as much talent on offense as this team. Let's get to the final series. Let's get to the end of the game, and our boys are Mahomes and Kelsey are going to win the game, and they did. I don't think the Niners ever looked too confident either. And a lot of
Wow.
people are questioning whether they could have put more gas pedal down. Or I felt like that game was slow and a little boring. I think the halftime show also was a little slow and boring, Jeff. And that guy, I'm an Usher guy, but he seemed to lack a little magic. My friend said he looked out of breath in the third or fourth song out of his 18 or 20 songs, whatever he did.
Yeah.
I marvel at what those Chiefs did. They did not have weapons, and we had Pacheco had a decent game. Mahomes and Kelsey are at times unstoppable. And at the end of that game, they needed a score in that last series, and it looked like they ran San Fran's offense from the week before. Mahomes starts running the ball, and you start having crossing patterns, opening up the field, and right before you take Mahomes down on a sack, he's dumping the ball off. I'd like to rewatch that game, and I think Andy Reid deserves Hall of Fame credit for that type of coaching, and Spagnuolo on defense. That was a masterful game.
To use a boxing analogy, the first half to me felt like two boxers that were just out there throwing those jabs, just feeling it, just getting
Yep.
a feel for what the fight's going to be like. And then you knew in the second half of the fight, or the second half of the game in this case, that's when the body blows were going to start to happen.
Yep.
And you just felt it. I know I can't speak for you, but I can only speak for myself. I just felt like, man, there's going to be a big time play that's going to turn the tide. And everyone's like, oh, it's the missed point after. I don't believe that. I don't believe that, because to me, even if they make the point after, Patrick Mahomes knows he's down by 4. They're going to make the necessary plays and adjustments. They're not just going to play for a field goal to send it to overtime. It was the botched punt. That was the play. The defense of the San Francisco 49ers gets the job done. They force the Kansas City punt, and the up man hits his leg. Ray McCloud doesn't just fall on it. He tries to pick it up and advance the ball. and then they score on the very next play. Just like that. That was the turning point to me, and that was the knockout blow, in my opinion.
I agree. And you'd think in a game where Mahomes throws his first pick in 7 games, Purdy goes without a pick. It appeared everything was going their way. The Chiefs did a great job of keeping them out of that end zone. They did a great job of not giving up the big play. And the Niners gave up a couple big plays. I like their trick play. I like trick plays, especially in big games. I get from the call sheet, our colleague, Coach KT Smith, I get on him. He doesn't throw enough trick plays out there. I think it keeps teams on their toes a little bit. But it didn't seem like San Fran had the momentum. It didn't seem like they were going to – they had control of that game. And, I like Brock Purdy. I think he's a nice person, plays hard, works hard at his game. But in this league, and we talked about it all year, the number one decider in just about every game was quarterback play. If your quarterback cannot make dynamic, big-time game-winning plays, then you're going to struggle in the big game. I think he averaged about 6.2 yards a throw. Didn't have any turnovers, but there were a couple situations in short yardage when they were, within the red zone. He didn't make that big play. He didn't use his legs, or he didn't find a guy open, whatever it may be. And field goals weren't going to get it done at those times. If they would have put touchdowns up instead of field goals, probably they win it. And Kelsey shut him out for most of the game. Guy got frustrated, bumped the coach. I think at the end of the day, he caught 9 to 10 targets, close to 100 yards receiving. They didn't get in the end zone, but when they needed him, that play was there, and it was almost unstoppable. We knew they were trying to play that the whole game. Once Mahomes started running up the middle a little bit, I don't know. Does Andy save that to the fourth quarter? Did they see something on tape at halftime? Whatever it may be, that changed the game. It was unstoppable. It opened up the running game. It opened up the game for Kelsey. I think I can't think of his name right now. Their star linebacker getting injured, jumping up and down and blowing his Achilles. That probably hurt Greenwald. That probably hurt them a little bit, stopping Kelsey too. But it just seemed like, that they could not put the nail in the coffin on that team. And, to win the big one, especially knocking the champ off the mountain there, you got to put that nail in the coffin. And, I hate to put it on them, but coaching matters. And it got a little tight in the second half for San Francisco. I mean, they appeared to be afraid to lose that game instead of wanting to win that game. And, we can get into the overtime a little bit. I've been reading some interesting articles about that. It appears you should take the ball first, and that's what analytics are saying. I think it was 51% possibly you had an advantage if you take the ball first. Now there's more data, and the data now says that's probably analytically not the right decision. If you take that ball first, whether you put up a field goal or a touchdown, then you're giving the team 100% of the information going forward. They knew they had 4 downs on every play, on every series. So going into every series, they had 4 downs. They had to go for it on 4th. They couldn't go for a field goal. Changes play calling completely, right?
Yeah.
Even when they lost, I think they were 2nd and 13 on a couple, or 2nd and 15. No panic. You chunk off 4 or 5 yards, and you get it to maybe 3rd and 1, and then you're maybe 4th and 1. And, that's something that, most teams analytically are going to cover. I think the Chiefs exposed a lot of what the league should be doing. I think coaching was amazing. Defensive coaching was amazing. And I'm a little bit afraid for the league. Chiefs should get some weapons in the offseason, maybe another receiver, maybe 2 receivers, right? That defense can only get better. And that offensive line was awesome. They gave him all the time he needed. I marvel at him. And, as an Eagles fan, I wonder what the heck we were doing letting that Andy Reid go, right? I mean, and Donovan McNabb gave me some good years, but now I'm wondering, geez, how many rings could we have had if we had a Mahomes, or if we had a little bit more mature, a little bit smarter guy there? Mahomes, to me, maybe the smartest quarterback, maybe the coolest quarterback I've seen. I like him a little bit to Joe Montana. Guy never, ever panicked under pressure. My favorite Super Bowl story, I think it was playoffs, or Super Bowl or the playoffs. They're down. I think it was for the drive. All the teams panicking in the huddle. A couple minutes left, maybe, or under. Joe Montana gets in the huddle and he says to the guys, "Hey, it's John Candy in the end zone." I don't know if it was Dwight Clark or somebody. They're like, we looked at each other like, this guy's insane. He's smiling about John Candy being in the end zone. this is the biggest series of our life, and runs down the field, scores, game winning touchdown, game over, pack it up. And
Yeah.
I think we're for Mahomes, we got a special guy that's revolutionizing the quarterback position in the league a little bit.
Yeah, that was the Super Bowl against the Bengals when the John Candy drive that is infamous now with Joe Montana. But for going back to your analytical stance on the overtime, what I've learned since the Super Bowl ended, and at the moment when it happened, this was the first time in a Super Bowl that they've had these overtime rules. And I was like, okay, it's not a given that you want the ball first. And so the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, I would have put my defense on the field first. You're guaranteed a possession. You're going to know. But then there's plenty of people that have come out and given honest, really good analytical views on the other side. I think you could debate it either way. Like you said, the analytics were 51%. That's really a which methodology do
Right.
you take? Because at that time, the only time that I don't think this had been used in the playoffs yet since it
Well,
changed after the divisional round game against the Buffalo Bills and the Chiefs when they instituted
right.
it the year after. So this is people want to rip Kyle Shanahan to shreds. No one had been through this before.
No.
So therefore, I understand that it's going to take some time. A lot of eyes are going to be open as it pertains to playoff overtime now, since it happened in the Super Bowl. But I do want to recap our props before we go on and talk about what's coming up and to recap our overall record in the NFL in this 2023-2024 season. So remember, folks, these were just us throwing out some good odds. Hey, if
Sure.
it happens, you can win, kind of like a lottery pick. We had Travis Kelce plus 1,700 for an MVP. I think if he would have scored a touchdown, there was a bigger chance, but
I
he did
do.
not. That went to Patrick Mahomes.
Deservedly, right?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean,
Anytime touchdown score with Travis Kelce plus 100, Brandon Ayuk plus 155, neither of those panned out. I was shocked. The best bet is Christian McCaffrey. I think the guy scored something like he's played, 38 games with the 49ers, and he
sure.
scored touchdowns in like 32. It's insane. It's insane
Sure.
how many touchdowns he scores, but probably not the best odds either. Team with the first interception, that's defensive interception. You said Kansas City, and that was not the case. San Francisco picked off Patrick Mahomes first.
Shockingly bad throw, right? I mean, that was
Very
Mahomes'
bad.
worst throw of the year.
Yeah.
And I think he was trying to get Kelce in the game, and I think he might have double clutched a little bit. It looked, I mean, that ball sailed on him. Mahomes
It
doesn't
did.
sail balls. So I love him for trying. It's something else with these turnovers. You wonder the effect of Las Vegas Super Bowl. The game was sloppy in the beginning, turning the balls over. Guys,
Mhm.
guys looked a little sluggish. Looked like they had a little Vegas hangover going a little bit. Some of these guys. So I think that was a little bit part of kind of the weakness of the first half, especially.
Yeah. It's here. No punt return or kickoff return. There was
No,
not even a kickoff return, let
no,
alone
there
for a
wasn't.
touchdown. Every
Ten
one of them
thousand to
went for a touchdown.
one. We're putting that bet in every year, Jeff. We're going with Kevin the accountant. Well, what do we got? We got about 1,000 years to put that bet in before we're losing money if we ever hit it one time.
That's true. That is true. And then the last two props, the most touchdowns caught, Kelce was plus 190, Debo Samuel minus 230. Neither of those came to
No,
fruition. And Super Bowl 58, most touchdown passes, Patrick Mahomes, because the second touchdown, or I should say the first touchdown thrown by the 49ers was not by Brock Purdy. It was actually by the wide receiver Jennings to Christian
sure.
McCaffrey on the trick play. So therefore, Mahomes plus 150 wins that bet, just like we win the overall plus 2.5 with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not counting the props here. So the overall record for this season, 48, 31, and 2.
Not bad,
40,
Jeff.
48, 31, and 2. Congratulations. That's a phenomenal
Not bad.
season. You proud of that?
We're proud of it, Jeff. I think probably about 62%, if I'm calculating in my head properly there pretty quickly. As I get older here, the numbers don't come as quick, but I know it's over 60%. And anytime you're over 60%, you're happy. You're winning over 6, 7 bets out of 10, and that's the gold standard. 8 or 90%, forget about it. We're retiring. We're living in Vegas, Jeff.
Yeah.
We get that next year. Maybe we'll get a little bit. FFSN gets maybe a little bit bigger computer for our analytics and our algorithms. So I'm going to talk to the CEO about this. Maybe we get one of those supercomputers. Who knows? Maybe we get 90% next year. I think
Yes, there you go.
the leagues, in an interesting position. I think quarterbacks are starting to come back. I think this year's draft class is going to be a good one for the quarterback position. And I'm excited going into next year. It doesn't seem too far off. I mean, you figure we got minicamp coming up in a couple months, and
Yep.
I cannot believe those Chiefs, though. I mean, that team probably, I mean, without a doubt, was their worst Super Bowl team. You could argue third or fourth best AFC talent-wise, right? I mean, that team,
Yeah.
their offense, let's face it, they stunk. They had no weapons. I mean, you took Kelsey away, and I think that's why they struggled scoring a little bit. And I don't know why more teams didn't do it to them. I guess it's hard. I guess they proved in the fourth quarter and then that overtime, once Mahomes gets dialed in, it's hard to stop him. I mean, that guy,
Right.
he is a step faster than everybody on that field. He sees players coming that, I don't think you should be able to see. That ball zips out of his hand. He doesn't have one of those long windups, so it's tough to see where he's going. And I'm excited to keep watching him next 10 years or so.
Well, and a lot of people that listen to the podcast or watch us on YouTube might say, like, well, what's going to happen now? Because we were so ingrained in football the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months with college football and the NFL. And now that both are completely done, well, what are we going to do? Well, let me tell you that now with sports betting, the way that it is, you can bet on anything. And so we will be talking about upcoming NFL draft odds in terms of who gets picked first overall. You can do a whole bunch of stuff there. We're going to be talking golf. If you like to talk, I love talking golf. Obviously, I do my own golf podcast, but we'll bet on golf with the majors, like the Masters coming up in April, the Players at the end of March. We'll be talking about hoops. March Madness is coming up. Baseball is a whole unique beast in and of itself that we'll be
Love it.
diving into as well. So, Pez, where do you want to go from here in terms of where we're talking?
Well, going forward, Jeff, for the gambling fans and fans of the show out there, we're going to have some tutorials on a lot of different aspects, whether it be poker, which I hate to say it, but if you play poker consistently, you call yourself a professional poker player. I did that for about 20 years. Horse betting, I've been to every Triple Crown race, and sometimes left happy, some not. So we're gonna dabble on internet gambling, some live action you can get. Cruise ship gambling, Jeff. We could have an episode on that because I have some theories on cruise ship gambling. It's piracy out there. But we'll be looking at the NBA, college basketball. College basketball, I think for the next couple of weeks, we're going to have to get dialed in for March Madness. And I've been looking at it for the last couple of weeks, and sadly, it's carnage out there, Jeff. I saw an article this week, and last night, Syracuse upsets North Carolina 36 times this season. We have had top 10 ranked national teams lose to teams that are not ranked. It's a record. 4 times Kansas has done it, which blows my mind. How do you lose 4 times to unranked teams and remain in the top 10? I don't know. We're going to have to get into watching this team, watch some tape on them. Syracuse got blown out by North Carolina, I think by 30. Last night they go in and they win, I think it was by 8 points. So going forward right now, we've got top 10 teams, 32 and 35 in games against unranked opponents on the season. A losing record for top 10 teams. Winning percentage 47%, 25 percentage points lower than a normal historical year. So what I'm getting at is we have some advantages. There is parity like we've never seen in college basketball, and it appears that the chalk teams, the top 10 teams, are vulnerable. And we're going to be really looking at some underdogs, and some of these games, unfortunately, the unranked team was favored. So Vegas always knows more than whoever's voting on rankings, whatever sport it may be. But that's something that we're going to really be taking a look at in the next couple of weeks and going into this tournament. I would not be shocked this year if in March Madness we have the lowest ranked team win the national championship, right? I mean, I think this data is telling us it's time to do your research, time to really dig in. So we're going to be taking a look at that going forward. Next week we'll have some plays on it. For golf, exciting tournament, Jeff. My favorite guy. I mean, a guy I know you love to hate a little bit. Tiger Woods returns to the scene. Some call it a crime, Jeff. I don't know what happened to that guy. Guy crashes 100 miles an hour into a tree, an embankment, whatever the hell it was. Leg gets cut off. They sew it back on. He's back. Who would ever thought that guy would be playing in this tournament? Now, the bad news, the Riviera, which I believe has become famous from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes.
I'm not positive, but I believe the Black Swan's head was decapitated on that course, or was crushed, whatever Larry did. Tiger Woods loves the course. He's terrible there. He's horrible. We're staying away from him this week. We're looking at 2 solid plays, though. This number kind of blows my mind. Ricky Fowler, who was decent last week, in a California boy. I think he had some Vegas plans, Jeff. You know, that guy's got the cash. He's got the looks. And I bet you that private jet was landing in Vegas shortly after he left Phoenix. But this week, you got to be able to hit the ball straight. It's not a bangers course. It's not a distance course. Old school course, small greens, you got to have a dialed in short game. So he is plus 15,000 right now to win the tournament. $100 wins you 15,000. That means $10 wins you 1,500. I don't know. I got $10 throwing Ricky Fowler this week. I got nothing else to do Sunday. I've been a good dad this week. Valentine's Day, we're going out to see the Bob Marley movie, taking the wife and the child. Both are hippies, Jeff. My wife's growing my son into a hippie. I think he's a Rastafarian. He's the only Italian-Irish Rastafarian out there. But anyway, we're going to do that. So Sunday, I'm going to be dialed in watching. $10 to win 1,500 on Ricky Fowler. Not too bad odds. A little bit better odds. And a guy that I think's got a really good chance of contending this week, Jason Day, plus 5,500. So you bet 100 to win 5,500, or you throw $10 win, to win 550. Not bad odds. A guy that's been playing well, without a doubt, one of the best short games in the world. As long as the back holds up, which it has been, I think he should be contending. I do not think it's another week, a good week for our Schefflers, for our McIlroys. I think the bangers are going to be struggling a little bit, and you got some big rough, and I don't know what kind of trees they have out there, John. I never seen trees like they have in Riviera. They look like horror movie trees. So should be fun to watch. One of the most expensive country clubs in the world. So us common folk get to take a look at it, and never let me on there. I think Adam Sandler finally got a membership to the Riv. I think I read that a year or two ago. And
Nice.
That's
I
one
think I remember reading that myself. Yeah.
Yeah. The only guy with a hoodie I think allowed in there.
Well, let me give you some of my Genesis picks here. And if anyone's listening to this and wants to hear more about my golf stuff, go to Fairways and Dreams, that podcast. Fairways, the and symbol, and Dreams. That's my golf podcast. I do this every Thursday. I give some bets. Here's what I got this week. The outright winner, if you're looking for someone that I like who's playing good golf, and he typically does play well in this tournament, is Justin Thomas. He's plus 1,600 in this tournament. I think he's playing good golf. He's definitely dedicated himself to getting better. I think he kind of took the last few years for granted.
Contended last week. He was in it.
Did.
He
Absolutely
was. Sahith too. I think the schedule hurt.
Sahith was leading at one point.
Sahith was leading on the last day, but he had to play about 30 holes. I think JT and him a little bit got on the wrong side of that weather, and I think a regular tournament could have been both, top. I mean, could have won either one of those guys.
For sure, yeah. And our boy Jordan Spieth, who was my pick, he played well. Sam Burns was in my 3-way, but the Asian guy killed me.
Oh
I had 2 out of the 3 in the top 20, except him. He finished like 64th. But I like the combo of Justin Thomas and Max Homa plus 145 to finish in the top 20, including ties.
Okay.
And then they even have Tiger specials. I can't believe you didn't go into the Tiger specials. This is your guy. I'm doing Tiger specials. I hate Tiger Woods. I think the Sunday Red is awful. It's an awful logo. It's an awful name. 2 words, Sunday Red. What's TaylorMade doing? That's idiotic. Anyway,
what kind of money did they throw at him? I can't wait to hear that.
That's going to be.
You outbuck Nike? What they must have thrown $1 billion. Who knows? I can't wait.
So I actually placed this bet. I had a free bet from the Super Bowl.
Great.
It's a place for. I did Tiger Woods in round 1 to be bogey free, number 1 through 9, plus 350. So we'll see.
Well, traditionally, the only hole he bogeys in round 1 when he's on is his first hole.
First hole,
it's
a par 5.
That guy. Well, he's bogeyed more first hole of tournaments and gone on to win than any other golfer in history. There's just something he gets pumped up. Now, that doesn't say it happens all the time. And I believe that first hole, you tee off from an elevated box right outside the clubhouse. Rich guys don't want to walk far with their first cocktail. So my hope, and I'm pretty sure this is what happens sometimes. They don't use driver off that first box. I think you can So Tiger hits that stinger. I think we're in business, Jeff.
So yeah, that was my play this week with the free bonus bet, and then I also have him finishing. Hey, sometimes Tiger starts strong and then fizzles out. I've got
gets
if
tired.
you want to take a risk, put Tiger Woods in the top 20 after round 1 plus 160. All
Not
he's got to
bad
be
at
his
all.
top 20 with ties. You get plus 160 odds. You can parlay some of that stuff. Those are my bets for the Genesis this weekend.
I think he shot a 69 last time he was out there first round. I think if I was reading that correctly today. A lot of numbers going on in the head, through Super Bowl here, Jeff. Lots of good food and alcohol as well.
Yeah.
My wife and I had some bourbon, Blanton's bourbon. I'm trying to get them to sponsor the show here, Jeff. Maybe some free bottles. Blanton's is the round globe bourbon bottle. They've got bronze horses on the cork.
Nice.
My wife takes care of me and supplies me those every once in a while. Our friend the Sling Man drives down to Delaware and somehow gets some deals on them. So we're shout out to the Sling Man. Sling Man, I forgot to mention our guy that plays Bahamian high-low live during the day. Put in 8 live Kansas City bets throughout the game. So he lost, I believe, every prop bet as well, but 8 live games, he kept getting better odds, and he kept texting me, I'm reloading. I started sweating, Jeff. He goes, they're going to win, right? I said, well, I think so. I started questioning the amount of money he was putting on them. Guy ended up walking, I believe, with $2,800 just on the Chiefs plays, and we're proud of the Sling Man. Been a big fan of the show all year, big promoter for us. We'll be having him. We'll be looking at him coming on, talking horse betting coming on. He's a former owner of a couple of horses, and
Nice.
we might have to block out his face, Jeff. I don't
That's
know if
fine.
he's wanted in every state, but a couple, I believe he definitely is.
We'll definitely have the Sling Man on. But all right, Pez, let's wrap up the show. What are your final thoughts here before we call it?
Well, reason we didn't take Tiger, Jeff, pleasure to watch, one of the greatest athletes in the history of sports. I find it hard to wager money on him. I like watching every shot the guy makes. When you have a talent like that, you just got to take it all in, Jeff. And I encourage everybody. You never know with this guy. Can he win a major this year? We'll find out this week. If he can walk around without a limp, then I think we're going to start looking at him and put him on a short list for our Masters picks. That's an important week. He looked good the last couple kind of fraud tournaments they had over the winter here. I'm pumped to see him. And my man Justin Thomas says he hits the ball. He might outdrive Justin. So something to be watching for him. We'll be collecting some Masters data. If you want to short some stocks here, I would bet against Scheffler. I don't know what the heck happened with this guy's putter. Probably the best golfer in the world the last 2 years and the worst putter in the history of the PGA. I don't know what the heck's going on with him, but I'd short stock him. I'd sell him right now.
I love it. All right, Pez, good show as always. We'll talk next week. We'll talk some hoops. We'll talk some golf. We'll recap. In the meantime, enjoy your weekend. Take it easy.
Let's do it, buddy. See you.
Yeah.